Hi, this is Summer with Summer's Tips and Stitches, and this video is going to be all about this Christmas stocking pattern. I mentioned it in the video before, and I have finished it now, and I'm going to talk about how to make the pattern. There'll be a link in the description to the pattern, so it should be easy for you to find. So let's just start with the first thing that I noticed about this pattern when I got into the nitty-gritty of it, is that it is in UK terms. Now, I have not seen anywhere on this pattern that initially would have indicated that, but my first guess was when it asked me to do a treble crochet for the first row. It says work 1 treble crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook, and that's going to be your clue that it's actually a double crochet, because double crochets you work in the 3rd chain from the hook. So when you then realize, if it does not say somewhere that it's UK terminology, anytime you see a treble crochet, you just do a double crochet. The next the next stitch you had to change wasn't again until the very end of the pattern, because it's all double crochets. It asked me to do, what does it say? To work 3 double crochets into the heel and then double crochet all the way around. So again, because it's British terminology, their double crochet is our single crochet. So in order to do this pattern, anytime it said treble crochet, you do a double crochet. And anytime it said double crochet, you do a single crochet. And then finally, they abbreviate their slip stitch different than us. They just do SS, which I think sometimes we do, but I think also in American terms we do slip stitch, SLST. So that was the first thing I noticed, is that it is in British terminology. But basically, the first I just went into my stash and grabbed some Red Heart yarn. Red Heart Red. I want to say that it said cherry. And I made this half. As you can see, it is all double crochets. You do the full row of double crochets, you do some increasing, then when you get about here, you start decreasing on this side, and this side is always the same. Then you get up here, and then you just do a short, because this is like the body of the stocking. Very simple to follow. Well, then I ran out of red, and I went to Walmart, and I just grabbed another red, and I came home, and it is not the same color red. Do you see how this one's just a little darker? Now, it doesn't really look that horrible in the camera, but let me tell you, in real life, this is kind of like an orangey red, and this is like a dark red. I wonder if I can like shade it so you can see it. Nope, no way about it. So anyway, so then I stopped making this stocking, and I went and made this one, and this is all in the same color red. Then when you get to the top, they have you do a puff stitch. In fact, it technically only asks for 3 rows of puff stitch, and then it doesn't exactly explain what they would like a puff stitch. So what I did was yarn over, poke through, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, but left still two loops. And I did that 4 times. So in the end, I had 4 stitches plus my original loop. And then I yarned over and I pulled through all 3 of them, or all 5 of them. I did a chain. And basically, once you've sewed your whole stocking together, they have you single crochet it. Just single crochet all the way around. You then can join anywhere you want to do this top part. Anywhere you want. So I started right at the seam, just to be simple. And you start doing a puff stitch, skip a stitch, puff stitch, skip a stitch. And then, like I said, they called for 3 rows, but I did 4 because I also really like the look of folding it over. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. I did 5 rows. So I just kept going around and round and round until I got 5. So this is the full stocking. Like I said, I also then crocheted a little loop up here. I just did a chain. I came back around, I poked through, pulled up, and then I single crocheted in every little stitch, and then I joined it back. So it's very simple. There's not a pattern. There's not a thing for that. I just made it myself. So I can either have it folded over and then my little loops down here, or you could just have it open and have it hang. So that is the very simple pattern. So because I had this half red somewhere, I decided to pull out another Red Heart green that I had, and I feel like this is some really old yarn, and crocheted. I started crocheting it together with a single crochet, and I started alternating, like holding the two strands, one of red and one of green, and then alternating. But I just don't like how it looks in the red side. It doesn't look too bad in the green. So I'm going to rip it out, and I'm just going to single crochet all the way around in this icky red, this orangey Red Heart red, the cherry. Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit of a nuisance to rip out because, like I said, I was holding two strands the whole time and I was alternating, but it really just doesn't look good in the red side. So yeah, that's pretty much how the pattern goes. It's very simple. You can see here, you know, it's just a single crochet all the way around, holding the two halves, because you're going to make two of the boot, all the way around. And then when you get here, you stop, you weave in your ends, and then you start with the white, or whatever color you want to do the puff stitch. And that's what it looked like. It does not, to me, look real puffy. And then they called for 3 rows, and I did 5 or 6 because I wanted a nice big cuff. But yeah, that is a very simple pattern. I'll put a link in the description. I found it off of Ravelry, as I'm frogging this one right here, right now with you guys. I like it because, well, maybe it's my whole fear of doing socks too. It's just, I get confused when you start doing heels and whatnot. And because this is just simple, it's just a flat piece and you sew it together. I will say I do personally want to make some changes to the increase and the decrease on the end. I'm not 100% in love with the shape. Do you see here? This is what it ends up looking like. This is like the toe. I'm not really 100% in love with that shape. Once you crochet your end, once you sew, or you can either whip stitch it or single crochet all the way around, it kind of shapes it a little nicer to where it looks less weird. But there's got to be a better way to do this. And so I thought about figuring it out, seeing what I could find. But basically this is just worsted weight yarn with an H crochet hook. This one I did on Thursday. Thursday's my half days, and I worked on it probably straight through. I picked up the kids from school and I started it when I was in the car picking them up, and I probably spent 3 hours just straight crocheting. I had very little interruptions, and then I think, so it didn't take too long. But yeah, that is the pattern. Very simple. I'll put a link in the description to the pattern. Get yourself an H hook, some cheap worsted weight yarn, and then like I said, remember, it is in British terminology. So instead of a treble, you're going to do a double, and instead of a double, you are going to do a single. The final thing I will say is with this Red Heart yarn, it is kind of itchy and stiff, but you really could jazz this up however you want. You could really use a nice chenille yarn. You could use a nice wool yarn. You could use a super soft, like a Bernat one, and make a real cozy one. And then they have appliques, as you can see. She has a star, a little tree, and like some kind of a snowman. There is no link in the description to, or link in the pattern to those specific appliques, so you can make something of your own. I'm just going to leave that first one plain. Maybe on this one, on the red side, make some, not mistletoe, but holly berries or something. But yeah, I really feel that with the quality of yarn, you can really make a nice stocking with this if you want to. Or you can just make something quick and easy with the red heart. And yeah, so and right now these are the two halves. I'm going to sew them together with the red, like I said, and do the top. I'm hoping to do that unicorn doll next, and then maybe my next video. So I usually have a half day Monday that I'll do on Monday or Sunday night. I'll put it up Monday. Is going to be like a chatting video where I feature the Christmas tree skirt and the pattern I used to make my Christmas tree skirt. And I feel like in that pattern, that is where I got all this really cheap red heart. I feel like I went to Walmart and that's where I got this weird. And this was the leftover from the Christmas tree skirt. Because again, with the Christmas tree skirt, because it's underneath and you get all the needles stuck in it, I wanted something nice and thick and sturdy that wouldn't be fragile or that you have to be careful or wash or any kind of treatment that I could just stick under the tree, shake out, throw it through the wash and the dryer. So I just chose, like, you know, the big, bulky, the huge 1 pound red hearts. And I think that's how I got that weird red, because this one was not in one of those giant 1 pound. It was the next size down. And 2 years later. All right, well, I hope you enjoy this kind of rushed video. This is the stocking that I made out of that pattern. It's nice and big. As you can see, I can barely fit it in the frame. There it is. I did a little alterations to the top, but otherwise very true to the specific pattern. I'm going to later on think of something to do here. No offense to the pattern creator. All right, well, until then, happy crafting. Bye.